Johanna Suo is actually going to speak about very consistent aspects of the role of the creative sector professionals and how they can work with the business sector.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Ruba, to talk about this very important topic. So, a first thing I would like to address is actually the importance to clarify innovation and what you mean with innovation. This is such a widely used word, and I think it will always be done and seen differently depending on what sector and what context you are in. And for me, this context today, it's about how we can provide new ideas and ways of thinking and doing in the cultural and creative sectors to make the sectors empowered and more sustainable. And something that I'm actually always advocating for when it comes to the role of artists and designers in corporate innovation or skills transfer from culture and creative sectors to business, industry, and corporate environments is the diversity of thought it brings. And this is equally just as important here for us in the other way around. How does the business and corporate mindset and ways of doing and thinking help innovation in culture and creative sectors? So my way into this topic is not only for the concern for the culture and creative sectors, but it's also for the greater economy. And therefore, I'm wondering how can we, in a more connected way, work together and look for solutions. So we could also call this cross-sector collaboration and innovation. Look then from this wider perspective and not only from a culture and creative sector perspective. So necessity is said to be the mother of invention, but I think that also the skills that stem from the professions having the creative process in common, invention also stems from there. There has been during COVID-19 a lot of talk and action about rescue packages for culture and creative sectors, and that is of course rightfully as well. However, I believe that rescue packages cannot and will not push the sectors forward, and it will not develop them, and it will not adapt them to new times. And just a comment before continuing, I will say that I am a culture professional and entrepreneur myself. I have felt the challenges, the additional challenges that COVID brought to culture and creative sectors. So I'm not saying what I'm saying because I'm disconnecting from the reality of independent and cultural professionals from the impact that COVID did have. I'm saying it because I simply do believe that rescue packages are not a sustainable approach. It's a very small part of a solution. So we cannot focus on sustaining something that already did not work. Culture and creative sectors presented so many uncertain living conditions before COVID, and it has just become devastating due to COVID now for some. Could you change the slide, please? So we have to search for solutions and create policies for challenging conditions that we already met earlier. So let's face then some points. Culture is a little prioritized and undervalued sector compared to most other sectors. Thus, it's also the case that it's challenging to have a clear legislation around culture and then also act around this. Because acting on the topic is about how and if culture is mentioned and defined in strategy and policy documents. The echo chamber of culture is another big challenge. Sectors need to dialogue and co-create and find solutions with other sectors. then maybe some would say that it's controversial to speak about the many people working in the culture and creative sectors and the many people wanting to be in them. All the students that want to go to different artistic training programs. But it is a question of offer and demand, and many people, majority of artists and designers, try to sustain themselves in parallel on jobs in other sectors that often are underpaid and undervalorized, because their direct skills, their talent and their competencies is not enough to actually feed them or to fit. They cannot fit enough into a specific context, and it's simply too many people working in the sectors. There's too much competition. And this links then as well to well-being. Everyone needs to feel useful in some way, to feel that one's skills, talents, and competencies are useful for others or for something. And this must create a huge frustration. And then there is a clear lack of entrepreneurial skills and digital skills. And of course, all education and training programs should definitely provide this. One question is if public authorities should engage further and deeper to secure social security and minimum revenues for independent culture and creative professionals, and to what extent. And this as well will be a tough one. This is a hard debate. There is a strong opposition to this question, to responding yes to this question. Change slide, please. So what can be the solution to all of this? I think that the intrinsic value of culture actually has a limited possibility to win fervent advocates and win allies from other sectors or from the other side. However, the instrumental and economic values of culture have more potential of winning battles for culture and in the valorization process. And I do believe that a two-way interaction is really needed with other sectors. And for this introspection within the culture and creative sectors is really, really important. Business model innovation within the culture and creative sectors can be done through rethinking, understanding, and recognizing the skills of the sectors. And that is, of course, a process where not only culture creative professionals have a role to play, but it has to be done in close collaboration and reflection with other sectors. And for example, in the culture and creative sectors, particularly art and design professions, have the creative process in common. So these professions generate skills that are of key importance in the times we're living in today. And I am sure that most designers and artists, they are not aware of that because, well, if they don't have the drive naturally to look far beyond their disciplines and see and think about how their skills and competencies could fit into other contexts. So in the knowledge economy, in the innovation economy, in the fourth industrial revolution that we hear about all the time today, you also hear about the skills as abstract reasoning, complex problem solving, systems thinking, collaboration, the ability to experiment, empathy, creativity, and this is creative. This is about the creative process mindset. These are all of key values to our times, and we could also talk about soft skills, human skills, 21st century skills, and life skills. So when we look in this, perspective, we have another standpoint for the offer and the demand question, one that naturally is dynamic and where there should be a flow. And then we could boost this kind of skill transfers in various ways through providing awareness and tools for this in all education, artistic education and training. creating career-long learning programs, creating and developing existing business hubs that should be empowered with this practice and that have knowledge staff from both sectors, and facilitation and building of ecosystems with also clusters of professionals and companies from the culture and creative sectors and from business industry and other sectors is very important. And of course, we need to create policies and instruments that support these kinds of actions. So I'm a founding partner of Artisans of Innovation, and we are an innovation partnership consultancy that work exactly on this cross-sector collaboration and innovation. And we are currently completing applied research on artists and designers' role in corporate innovation. And we do that then, of course, also from a cross-sector perspective team. In this context, I work with a corporate innovation specialist and a digital sector leadership specialist. And we are debating our knowledge and experience with one another. We have interviewed professionals both from culture and creative sectors and from business sectors, having an overview of cross-sector collaboration and what it means, what it implies, what are the challenges and the strengths. And we're also doing a certain literature review. And from my perspective, the challenge with this practice today is that, well, creativity and innovation are priorities for business and industry. However, their belief system is misaligned with the belief system of the culture and creative sectors. Then we're talking about values, ways of seeing and doing things. And this is, for me, the key reason why an effective and valuable skill transfer in this practice does not yet happen properly. And I think that culture brokers can and will play a very important role in the future. And this is definitely also a practice that should be highlighted more for culture managers. Change slide, please. So just finishing up with some words on how I see, that we can contribute on what I have been talking about. So we will work with ISHIC and CSHIP on a certain mentorship for CSHIP participants that is very tangible, and I hope that will be helpful. And Artisans of Innovation, we will soon publish a white paper on our applied research. And we will also run some webinars later on this winter. And we are planning as well building a global partnership for this kind of practice, taking our conclusions to a practical level. And I'm sure that many of you have heard about the EU, on an EU level, what's happening now, what is called towards a large-scale skills partnership for the culture and creative industries ecosystem. I think that can be very helpful for this context. But of course, that is also focusing a lot of intra culture and creative industries. But there will, and I hope will be, more important parts that will be about external action as well. Because I've seen that there was a working group roundtable held with conclusions running up to the launch of this initiative. And they also mentioned cross-sectoral and wider skills, digital skills, artists and designers working with tech industry and creative talents teaming up with mastering technical skills to ensure human-centric design. So thank you, Ruba, from my side.
Thank you very much, actually, Johanna.